Let's take them out.
That's too risky. They're all elite. Let's try not to pull aggro.
What are you talking about? There's 5 of us.
Yeah, 5 of us with loot that we want to hold on to. Trust me.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back. This is Force, and here today we're going to be talking once again about The Division. Today, though, I'll be discussing some of my biggest concerns for the game. Now, as I mentioned in a video last week, this is one of my most anticipated titles of 2016. However, at the same time, I'm not turning a blind eye to what could be major concerning issues, and those are the things that I want to talk about here in this video. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. The first concern that I have is the end game. Now, I see the comedy in the fact that it's a game we haven't even started playing yet, and I'm already concerned about what we'll be doing at the end of the game. But as a gamer myself, I am someone who tends to go very hard at the games that I'm interested in at any given time. And I know that The Division has the potential to be one of those games. And if I'm playing it nonstop for a week, my concern is what will I be doing that second week, once I've likely finished leveling up my character and started to acquire good gear. What will that end game process be like? Now, as of this point, the developer has pointed to 2 things that will take up our time. The first one is content of ever increasing difficulty. The second one is PvP. So I want to touch on PvP first because as it stands, I don't have a problem with that notion. Once you've leveled up your character, acquired the gear that you want, going into those dark zones and trying to get even better gear, and in that process fighting against other people, I think inherently that sounds like that could be like infinite amount of replayability. You're always going to have unique scenarios where enemies will be attacking you from varying positions, and then other players are going to come in and start shooting at you because they see that you have gear that they want to take. The potential for unlimited enjoyment and fun there. My concern is how they're going to handle the PvE side of the end game. Now, if you're not familiar with these terms, PvE is essentially a term used in a lot of MMO style games that refers to the non-player versus player stuff, player versus environment specifically. It's you against AI. How are they going to handle that? Well, in interviews, they've said as much as there's going to be content of ever increasing difficulty. That alone is concerning because a lot of times you hear that, and how is that solved? Well, it's solved by increasing the health of the enemies and making them deal more damage. Basically, creating bullet sponges that can one-hit you is the ultimate grave concern when you hear them say, there's going to be content that scales up with your character. So yes, this is an RPG style game. We have characters that will level up and that will acquire stronger gear that makes your stats increase, and weapons that increase your base damage. Now, if they just try to counteract that by basically throwing bullet sponges at us that one-shot us, that is really not a good answer. We need varied and interesting content, things that challenge us and present us with things that we haven't seen in that leveling process. That's what a lot of people hope for and look for when it comes to end game PvE. Now, as it stands, they haven't said much beyond there's content of increasing difficulty, but I have heard rumors from people that this game might have 12-man raids. And if that is in fact the case, I think that would be a suitable answer, and one that basically puts it in their hands that, hey, this is your opportunity. Make something interesting, make something unique, make something that requires coordination and teamwork to get done, and have it reward some pretty awesome gear. All of that sounds like it could be exciting, but again, that's nothing that Ubisoft has come out and said, yes, we're gonna have 12-man raids, it's gonna be like this, that, and the other thing. They've just said, the content's gonna be harder and it's gonna scale up with your character, and that alone is a concern and not suitable. So the PvP sounds great. The PvE, I think we still need to learn some more, and it has the potential to be, again, pretty awful if it's just, I've got 1,000,000 health and I'll one-shot you every time. Those aren't the type of enemies and encounters that most of us want to play against. Second concern that I want to bring up is actually not a huge concern for me personally, but I'm addressing it because I know it's an issue for a lot of people. And that is the visuals. So basically, when we first saw this game, they released a trailer, and it looked absolutely gorgeous. However, in the subsequent years, with more trailers coming out, it looked, I'd say, slightly less impressive. And that if you happen to catch that leaked footage from a couple of weeks ago, it looked downright awful. So the concern, of course, is did they try to trick us? Is Ubisoft pulling one over, trying to pull the wool over our eyes? They're saying, hey, it's gonna be this amazing, best looking game ever, but then when it releases, it isn't. You know, every time this topic comes up, as I mentioned at the top of this, it's really not the biggest concern for me because I understand in the development process, things change, plans change. They can't do as much as they were hoping to do. They decided they wanted the world more interactable or bigger, and as a result, they had to scale back the visuals. This is all basically par for the course when it comes to the length and iteration that happens in the development process of games. However, at the same time, I understand the frustration that people have. No one wants to feel lied to. No one wants to feel like they're being tricked. So I put it on this list because I know it's a big issue for a lot of people. Go in there with a reasonable expectation that the Division probably won't look as good as it did in that first gameplay trailer, but that doesn't mean it's gonna look awful either, and that doesn't mean it was a great big trick that they tried playing. Maybe it just means things changed throughout development. And finally, on my list of concerns for the Division, we have got Uplay. Now, this is something that wouldn't have actually come up if it weren't for my recent obsession with Rainbow Six Siege. In the past, I've heard people complain about Uplay, but my experience with it has always been relatively fine. It's just another client to launch your games through, like Steam and Origin. I never really had a big problem with it. However, my recent playtime with Rainbow Six Siege has taught me that the servers that Uplay run off of are pretty unreliable when a game is getting bogged down. Basically, this past week of Rainbow Six Siege has almost been unplayable. Uplay is constantly having issues with synchronizing data, constantly getting disconnects, constantly not getting rewarded for the time that you're putting in. There have been several issues that have basically made it unplayable half the time. There's just been a myriad of issues, and if you take a look at the subreddit and the official forums for Rainbow Six Siege, you will see this is not an isolated problem. It's not just my internet, it is in fact the servers. Now, Ubisoft has come out and said, well, the biggest problem here is we've got an influx of players, and as a result, our servers can't handle it, yada, yada, yada. But after a week, it appears like nothing has been done. These issues are still a concern. Now, I am hearing a lot of people talk about the Division, many more so than I heard talking about Siege prior to launch. We're gonna be concerned with these issues because yes, this is a game that you're playing with other people. You can play with a group of 4, and then once you enter that dark zone, you'll be facing against other groups of 4. Are the servers going to be able to handle it? Is the game also going to be unplayable? Are we going to have issues with the netcode and any, like, these are major concerns now. And again, I am only so hot on this topic because the experience with Siege since basically the Christmas push has been so horrendous, so essentially unplayable, that it leaves me with little confidence in Ubisoft's ability to handle a large influx of players in a multiplayer capacity. And saying, hey, you guys better figure this out. Division is launching in just a few months. If you're not going to be able to handle a big influx of players, then those players are going to get turned off because the servers are unstable, and then you're going to be losing even more players as a result. So it's just something to think about. It is, once again, one of my biggest concerns and something that I hope they can figure out in the coming months before the launch of the Division. And with that, guys, we're going to be wrapping up this list. I want to thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video talking about some of my biggest concerns for the Division. Please let me know in the comment section below what you think of this list and any concerns that you may have that I haven't addressed yet. I am anticipating this game very much so. I'm hoping that Ubisoft can deliver, and I hope they address some of the things that we talked about here in this video, or some of the concerns that you guys might have as well. With that, guys, we'll be wrapping things up. Thanks once again for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.